Let's continue here now. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has blamed for the ongoing crisis in Sudan and the suffering of its civilians on the country's warring military leaders and their international supporters. SABC News correspondent Naba Muhyiddin has more from Sudan for us.
Addressing the United Nations African Union Conference in New York this week, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres blamed the Sudanese generals, the chief of the Sudanese Army, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the leader of RSF group, paramilitary group, Mohammed Hamdan Daglo, of causing the suffering of the Sudanese people and increasing it and causing the deteriorating situation in Sudan by engaging in violence and war that broke out on April 15th. Antonio Guterres was responding to a journalist's question about the failure of the United Nations and African Union of finding a solution in Sudan. The United Nations Secretary General directly blamed and accused the two generals of not engaging in serious talks and making enough concessions to find a resolution to the Sudanese crisis. Since the war broke out on April 15th, there is at least 6 million Sudanese people are whether internally displaced or close to other countries, and there is at least 9,000 people have died since the war broke out 8 months ago. The situation in Sudan is deteriorating every day in Khartoum and Darfur, and there is accusations of genocides and war crimes in Darfur region against RSF paramilitary group. The situation is deteriorating every day, and it's impossible for aid organizations to deliver aid for those in need, especially in Khartoum and in Darfur region. So there is an expected new round in Jeddah to pave the way for a permanent ceasefire, and of course if the two warring factions made enough concessions and sit on negotiation table directly, it will resolve the Sudanese crisis and end the suffering of millions of people. Naba Muhyiddin for SABC News, Port Sudan City, Sudan.